Are you ready?
3, 2, 1, let's go.
It's time for the Fuckery.
You're now tuned into the most unpredictable podcast on the World Wide Web.
It's about to shut it.
It's Say It Loud, hosted by Karen Howell.
Hey!
Across all major platforms, and you are locked in.
You are locked in.
You know what it is.
Pour up a glass of wine, ladies.
Let the Henny flow, fellas.
And get ready to turn the Fuckery meter up to lit status.
It's Karen Hill live on Say It Loud Radio on your favorite internet platform, streaming live.
It is another episode of Say It Loud. Thank you so much for joining me. And today in my hot seat, I have the host of Light the Path podcast, Miss Queen Cole. How are you, darling?
Hello, I am doing well. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. I want you to tell everybody who you are so that they all know. I know who you are. I want all of them to know who you are.
Yes, well, I am Queen Cole, affectionately known as Queen Cole here in these Dallas, Texas streets. I started with another podcast, which I still do that with two other guys. One is my brother called Royalty TV, and that's where I started my whole brand as Queen Cole. And what I was doing pre-COVID, like everyone else, I would go around and do different adventures and segment my way through Dallas, like showing people like, hey, you can have a staycation here. You haven't did this, you haven't did that. And I would chronicle my things as vlogs. So I had the video blogs together, and I would go around and do that. And that's where I created my brand. And then in 2019, I started Light the Path podcast, would be an extension of what I do. So I also would Light the Path. I talk to people with inspirational stories. I talk to people in the community. I talk to businesses. So I do a lot of that with Light the Path. So because of COVID, I was able really to cultivate the podcast more.
Yeah, I see your work, and I'm really, really impressed. What was the idea with the name Light the Path?
See, that came from my personal experiences. When I moved to Dallas, I was newly divorced. Well, 1 year newly divorced. For 1 year, I went home first to Louisiana. Then I relocated here to Texas. And as I was encountering other women and other people, like our stories would sort of mirror. And I'm like, man, the enemy tries to get to your head, like, don't say anything. Don't tell people because, you're the only one. But then when you start opening up, lighting the path for somebody else to, help along their journey. So that way they don't have to necessarily go that path. They can say, you know what? This is where I'm going to get off and create my own path. So I wanted to really just shine the light on different experiences that people have had, that I've had, just to help somebody else. So that's where the name came from.
That's a beautiful thing, because I think you're absolutely right. I think we go through a lot of things, and because sometimes we're hurt, because sometimes we're embarrassed, because sometimes we're ashamed, we don't tell anyone. We don't say anything. And we kind of think that we're going through it by ourselves. And the more you kind of open it up and put it out there, the more you're like, no, girl, the same thing happened to me. And you're like, wow, here's other people that have went through the same thing that I went through, and they're still standing.
Yep, absolutely. And, sometimes we navigate things differently. The way that I went through a divorce, you may have went through a divorce, yes, but you may have really just flat out lost it, but you were able to regain your footing. So I like to not necessarily just divorce, but people's stories. I like to hear people's stories. I'm nosy. I want to, so what else? I'll be asking all the questions, like what else and who else and where and how. So I really like to highlight that and just get it out there just to really help other people.
Yeah, I definitely feel the same way. I like to empower people. And I'm always a fan of the underdog. You know what I mean? I always like the story where you still come out on top regardless of what the trials and tribulations are. So I root for everybody, but I particularly root for the people where I'm like, damn, you gonna come out on top. Just ride this, just ride this out. So I definitely love a story like that. And I think like you said, they do empower people, and give space for people to tell their stories, even if they don't think they're going to get through it. Knowing somebody else went through the same situation makes them maybe feel a little bit more optimistic.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think even if it's just one thing, I may say, okay, I've done these 5 things to get out of this situation, but you may just have the bandwidth just to say, you know what, I just need to do one thing to get out of it. And you do, and you're like, man, I got that from like the past. So that's what makes me feel good when people say, like, I listened to it and it helped me, or I listened to it and it gave me the unction to, you know, jump out on what I was trying to do. I mean, so that's why I do it.
I love it. How do you think that we hold ourselves back in those situations? Because there's a lot of people that are in those situations that are kind of held back in them, or don't discuss them for whatever reason. Why do you think? Where do you think we learn that from?
I mean, I guess, you know, all things. I mean, not all things, but most things we can probably agree on come from childhood, you know, our childhood experiences. So if you were the child that ran to your mom when something happened, or your parent ran to them and something happened, and they maybe chastised you, they didn't coddle you, or they didn't, however they handled it, then maybe when a certain situation happened, you like, nah, I ain't gonna say no, I'm not gonna go that way, because you're afraid. So one, fear. And then another thing is self-doubt, because maybe you did try something, or maybe something did happen and you didn't get over it like you thought you would, or how society, quotes, wants you to get over in the time frame. So, and then of course the naysayers. So those 3 things can sort of hold us back from doing the things that we really want to do, because we can't. They just hold us back. They keep us stuck. But to get unstuck, you have to be able to know what I say. You got to look at all your obstacles that you have already overcame and lean into those. Like, man, what was it when I was going through this? What was the common denominator? It was you.
Right.
You were the common denominator. You were the one that said, you know what? I'm not going to lay here anymore. I'm not going to take this anymore. Or I'm going to go ahead and do this and make that first step. So I think people really need to we look for so many things. We want self-help from here. But we got to look at ourselves. We got to be like, yo, I did that one time. And even celebrating your small wins, that's something that can help you get to the next stage, because you like, me, I'm like, I did that. Okay. Now I'm like, nah, girl, you did that.
Yeah, no, that's really important. You got to clap for your damn self sometimes.
Yeah.
Because if you waited for somebody else to do it, it might not happen. And that codependency will hold you back. You know what I mean? The codependency will stop you from moving. So I think it's important that we kind of say, you know what, I'm going to clap for myself. And I know what I did. I set my goal, I set my intention, and now I'm going to clap that I hit it. And sometimes you're going to tell people about it, and sometimes you're not, you know, and that's okay. Either way, you have to kind of celebrate yourself and getting through whatever it is you get through, because some people don't know. They don't know when to clap for you sometimes. They don't know what you're going through sometimes. Yeah,
and then some people expect it from you sometimes. Like maybe your children. Like I've never seen my mom miss a shot. I've never seen my dad miss a shot. So I'm like, man, damn, they always in the gym. They always clutch. But that's not the case when you flip it over and you're a parent and you're like, man, how am I gonna get out of this situation? And then you do. And then your kids just never know. There are some struggles that your kids will never know until they're parents and have to go through it as well. So I channel Uncle Snoop. You know, when he got up on stage and he was like, I want to thank myself. Myself did this. I did this. I have to channel him sometimes, because for women, I mean, I can only speak from my perspective, is that there are times where you just sort of shy. Like if somebody gives you a compliment, you don't just say thank you. Like, oh no, I just threw this on. No. Yeah, now I'm like, girl, thank you.
I don't. I'm not gonna lie. I have a hard time accepting compliments. I'm just like, okay, like, you know what I mean? But we got
to practice right now. We got to practice right now. Now, when I give you a compliment, say thank you, and that's it. Don't say anything else. Don't say, oh no, this is just Karen L. These glasses, they popping.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, girl, this hoodie. Let me see that hoodie. What that hoodie say?
Oh, just God.
Girl, yes. I love that.
Yes. So yeah, I think we do need to lean into, you know, just accepting being great sometimes and just being accepting of getting over those hurdles and not really having to justify it or having to come back with something else. Like, nah, I just do this on, or like you said, nah, I just got this for so, and kind of deflecting, but really just taking it and sitting with it and embracing it. And I think that would kind of also build a lot of people when I think about that.
Yeah, when you just those small things, and I mean, it's hard. It's hard as hell because it's like somebody compliment you, like, oh no. So now just thanks. Just pause. Just stop. Don't say anything else.
You're right.
And sit in it and accept it. And once you start doing it, it's just like a muscle. You know, you're gonna keep building that. You're gonna build your confidence, and you're gonna keep going. And then that's gonna help you with other things. So the next time I'm trying to go get a wig, I'm like, Karen L said this was cute. Let me get another one. You know, I ain't gonna be scared, like, or indecisive. Like,
right.
What do I do? I'm like, no, I got a compliment on this one. I got a compliment on that one. And then that just boosts your confidence, and it just can help you in all areas of your life, really, when you just be able to accept that you're doing a damn thing. Like,
so that's going to be my next question. Thank you for your segue, by the way. My next question was, so I'm big on like, go ahead and do it scared. And I know you talk about light the path and creating a space, but like, what does that term mean to you? Go ahead and do it scared.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that term. I usually just say, you know, take fear with you. Like, fear, if you're going to be here, let's ride. Get in the back seat, strap in, because we're about to go do this thing. We're not going to, you know, if we have to coexist together, we just got to do it together. Because when we try to wait for the perfect timing, which me, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I will probably be in recovery for the rest of my life, which I'm a perfectionist.
The OCD, the ADHD.
So it's like, being a perfectionist, I can be planning something. I'm trying to get all my I's the right size, all my T's crossed the right way at the right angle, all of them lined up. It's 2 weeks later. Like, girl, you could have been gone. And fear just sitting back like so comfortable and cool because I haven't did anything. No, now I'm like, strap in, get in the back, because we going on a ride right now. And if you do that, you'll be backpacking with fear. You'll be backpacking with being scared. You'll be backpacking with people that, you know, say you can't do it. You'll be like, oh yeah, y'all, I can't do it. Yeah, come on, because I want you to have a front seat view.
Yeah, you can get into
it. Yeah,
no, I love that, because I live in a space now where I'm just like, nah, go ahead, do it scared. Like, it doesn't matter to me anymore. You're gonna be scared. Are you gonna do something or not do it? Right? Yeah. You can do it and be scared, or you can sit here in your comfort and not do anything. And so I'm at this place in life. It's we either gonna do it or we not gonna do it. We'll do it scared, but we either gonna do it or we not gonna do it because life's gonna keep going.
Absolutely. And I don't want to die with a notebook full of ideas. I don't want to be on my deathbed like, man, I should have did this. I should have did. No, I'm like, I did it. I did it scared. I did it with fear, but I did it. And once you do that, you'll start accomplishing things left and right that you thought you never could do. I could not think when I was married for 17 years, I wouldn't think like, oh my gosh, I'll be having a podcast. I'll be putting videos out there. I'll be on other people's show. I was just a football mom. Matter of fact, people didn't know my name. I was just Jada's mom and CJ's mom and ex, you know, blah, blah, blah's wife. Right. I didn't even have a name.
Right. Yeah, that's how I felt when I got divorced too. I felt like my whole identity changed. And I was in there. Karen L was in there, but she was like, you know, number 10 on the list at the very bottom. Yeah. And then when I got out of that relationship and I realized like, wow, I was not taking care of me this whole time. And I was taking care of who I organically was and not feeding that. Then I started to do it. Well, I woke up one day and I was just like, yo, I'm done feeling sorry for myself. This is who I am. This is who I've always been. And there's nobody to hear to make me feel like it's not. Yeah. And then I took that opportunity to rebuild yourself and rebuild your life. But then the real Karen L, I should say, you know, kind of sprouted up in that. And yeah, you just, it's almost like you kind of rebirth and regrow and you regenerate in the way. But this time you kind of come back, in my opinion, I don't know about you, but I came back better than ever. You know what I mean? I just feel like, I mean, divorce for me was one of the toughest things that I've ever been through.
Absolutely.
But I also think that it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. I strongly, and when I tell people that, they're like, but how could you say that? And I'm like, the woman that I've grown into would not have grown
in that environment.
In that environment.
That's the
space. The woman I am now is 110 times better than I was then. And I was still the shit then, but like, you know, it's 110% better now. And so sometimes it's tough. And I tell people this, I say it all the time. We all have our own crosses to carry. I say it and people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, Jesus carried a cross. Come on, get with it. We all have our own crosses to carry, and it builds character and it makes for a better story. And I think that's exactly what your show does. That's exactly what Light the Path does. It's like,
absolutely.
Yes, you had a story. Yes, it's a tough story at times, not always, but at times. And here you are celebrating that you're still standing. Yeah. And not only are you doing that, but you're creating a space for the person who is always also in that situation or also listening in some way to share and enlighten life for them. And so I think there needs to be spaces for that.
Yes, absolutely. I definitely agree with you on everything you said. And how I take it is, just like on the airplane, when they say put the mask on first, put your oxygen mask on first. Like, I ain't have mine on. I'm over here trying to help other folks. I'm losing oxygen, the plane going down, and I'm just over here trying to help everybody else, and I wasn't helping myself. And so when I finally heard the flight attendant, when I finally heard the Most High God say, put your mask on, queen.
Right.
Okay, let me put my mask on. And now I'm able to help and serve even better to my family, my kids, to whoever. So I agree with you. I'm 110% even more better now.
Yeah, that's a beautiful story though. That is a beautiful story. Cause I know when you going through it, you don't be feeling like that. I know for a fact you be like, nah, come on now. This can't be it. But when you get to the other side of it, I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that's the part that you celebrate when you in it. And so I will say this for anybody who is going through a divorce right now, who's listening to the show as two women who've been divorced, like, it's tough. I ain't gonna lie. Going through, it's almost like you in the middle of a tornado and you got to get to the other side. But when you get to the other side, I promise you, it's sunny and 82 degrees and everything is just fine and calm. It's nice. There's palm trees and shit over there. But I promise you.
Yeah. Mine was a hurricane. And then when I got out the hurricane, it was a tsunami. I'm like, well, what the world?
Yes.
This was supposed to happen.
I know. There was times I was like, yo, God, but what I did to you, though. You know what I mean? There was times. But I promise you, when you get to the other side of it, when you and you let go of some of the things that you were holding on to, because I think that was it for me too, is I had to let go of some of the things that I thought about myself. I had to let go of some of the things I thought about life and marriage. I had to let go. Like, I had to literally get to the point in my life where I was like, yo, God, just do what you're gonna do. Because I am holding on till my nails are bleeding, right? I'm scratching to hold on to life and the kids and the money and the house and the da-da-da-da-da. Just even just the image with other people.
Oh my God. Ooh, you're talking real good.
You don't want to tell this person this, and you don't want to say, and these people are going to talk about me, and how's it going to look? And I was just scratching to hold on. And I remember a day came where I was just like, yo, fuck it. Just like, I literally was just like, God, just do what you're going to do, because I can't hold on no more. And I promise you, the day I did that, my life changed. Yeah. The day I let go of everybody's perceptions, what I thought things should be like, the images that I wanted to uphold, the day I just said, this is the way things are going to go. And so I can't hold on to these ideals. I have to change. I have to change. Regardless of what went down, I have to change. And the day I did that, life changed for me. Because I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I stopped making excuses. I stopped blaming everybody. I was like, fuck it, it is what it is. Now what?
That's it. That's real good. I mean, because that's one thing we don't do all the time is take accountability for, what we contributed to the situation. That's why
I don't think it was my fault, but at the same time, if I walk around carrying blame for the rest of my life, I'll be miserable.
Exactly.
And so it has to get a point. Like, that's what I said. I had to stop feeling sorry for myself. I'm walking around with this happened to me and this is what this person did to me. And I just had to get to the point where I was just like, yo, fuck it, let it go. This is what's supposed to happen.
That's it.
Right? Because a lot of people walk around with anger.
Yep.
And some people walk around with anger, Miss Queen Cole, and they don't even know they're angry. I spoke to this lady once, and she was a very nice lady. But every time I spoke to her in that 2 hours, all she did was complain about she getting divorced and her husband. And I understood it at first, but 2 hours later, why are we still talking about this? It was just a lot of anger and and you might think it's not your fault, and it's not. It might not be your fault, but you walking around with this tension in you and this negative energy in you. It's going to hold you back just as much.
Absolutely. Because forgiveness is not even about the other person. It's about freeing yourself from all that stuff. So you got to forgive, forget, and move on.
Yeah, you can't be holding somebody's baggage over on your back. Like, you just got to be like, yo, and there's times where we just try to but like, no buts. Just let it. It is what it is. Water's wet. Shit stinks. The sky's blue. It is what it is. Now what you gonna do? Because you can't walk around just being miserable every day. You can't do that.
That's it.
The person you miserable about, move on with their life. You can't do that. And so I think sometimes we really need to kind of reflect on when we talk about taking care of ourselves, what that is and how that is. And sometimes it's not physical, it's the mentality that we have even for ourselves, and say, you know what, I gotta change.
Absolutely.
So with that said, how do we kind of overcome the obstacles of things holding us back? How do we do that?
It's not easy. It's not easy to overcome the obstacles, because that thing in the back of your head, that doubt that's saying, you can't do this, or you've never done this before. Like my brother asked me to be on Royalty TV just to sit in because they needed a girl. And I'm like, oh, I can do that. Just to fill in. Then he's like, oh, a year later, he's like, oh no, you're good. You're it. And I'm like, wait, what? I never thought that I could do it, but I had that person saying, go ahead and try it, go ahead and do it. So when you have that self-doubt and you can't get over it, look to your tribe. Like, is your circle encourage you? Are they motivating you? Like, when I wanted to start a podcast, my brother's like, okay. No, well, before the reason why I started the podcast, because he said, what are you going to do for your brand next year? And I'm like, start a podcast? And he's like, okay, good. Now come back with a name and a concept. I'm like, oh, so your circle, who you're around, even who you're following on social media, like, if you don't feel encouraged, inspired, motivated, unfollow. Right. I don't care how beautiful their body is, how much they drunk the tea and wear the waist shirt. Like, if it ain't inspiring you to go out and go do the work
and be better,
disconnect for them. So one thing, if that self-doubt is driving you, look to your tribe to be able to encourage you, to put you out there and to challenge you, and also to tell you when your shit stinks. Right. Like, if your tribe is just like, yeah, rah, and then you out here doing some crazy stuff.
Yeah, they don't love you.
They don't love you. But when they tell you, like, no, you ain't going hard enough, go harder. You like, wait, what?
Yeah, my child probably like, yo, this girl crazy though.
Yeah, so you try to have those people cheering for you and look into them and leaning into them on those occasions. And then, you know what? Even like our relationship, we didn't know each other, but we were for each other like, you are my cousin.
Yeah, because I feel like there's people that just give me good energy. You're one of those people that's like, yo, Karen, you want to do so-and-so? Like, I bet, let me know, and I'm there. I feel like there's people that give me good energy, and those are the people I want to surround myself with. So my thing is that sometimes it's people you don't know. Sometimes
Exactly.
it's not the people that you think are going to support you. Matter of fact, about 80% of my followers that really dive in, there's a lot of people I did not know before I was Karen L, and now they ride hard for me. And so I give that same love back. I always live in a space of gratitude because I know people don't have to do anything. They could just be like, oh, well, and just keep scrolling or keep going or not listen. So I always live in a space where I'm constantly appreciative of people because they need that. But I agree with you. If your circle is not giving you the energy you need, then you might gotta find a new circle.
Yeah.
You might have to say, you know what, I've known these people since high school, or these people are my family, but they don't think the way I think. Let me find a circle of people who think the way I think on this particular issue or what I'm doing, and give you that energy there, because being around toxic people gonna make you second guess yourself.
Yep. And you'll never get to the things that you want to do. And if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to leave that room. You need to be going where you're gonna grow. Like, I don't want to be in a pot where I'm just in this pot, I'm in this chair, I'm just growing in this chair, and then I'm growing in this chair, and then now I'm growing out of this chair and I'm still in this chair. No, I want to be growing so I can grow out. I want to be able to, I want to reach the nation. Like, I want to be international queen. I don't want to be the Dallas queen of everything. I want to be internationally known. I want to light the path in areas where there is no light, and I'm bringing the light. So yeah, you gotta get out your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone. Try new things. Tuesday is my thing. Every Tuesday, I try something new, whether it's an exercise,
I like that.
a food, a place, anything. It's something. I try something new every Tuesday.
I like that. We're gonna
Tuesday.
We're gonna try something. I like that. That's such a good idea, because I feel like there's people that live in their same towns. I always say this. There's people that live in it. Even me, I live in New York, and I'm just like, there's so many wonderful things here. But because we're here all the time, we don't get up and experience them. And I'm like, there's so many things out there that we just kind of get complacent in where we are, that we don't try anything new. So I think that's a beautiful thing to do. I think everybody should do that. So this is my call to action. If you're listening right now, you can go follow Queen Cole, but every Tuesday, try something new. Try something new on your Taco Tuesday. Try a new drink, a new food, visit a new restaurant, museum, park, read a new book, listen to a new podcast. I don't know, but I think we have so much at our fingertips. There's no reason why you can't do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I want you to tell us about your personal experience about lighting the path with some of the people that you have spoke with, and just kind of give an idea of what that feels like when somebody's on your show.
Man, I've had some great guests. I think I've had over 50 episodes last year, 2020. But some things that stuck out to me, I know usually March, we sort of consider it as Women's History Month. I've had 2 history makers on my show. Yeah. One young lady is an auctioneer. She was the first Black auctioneer woman in Texas.
Oh, wow.
I was like, it can't be true, but she was. And so she's an auctioneer. I mean, a male-dominated field, a white male-dominated field. And I had her on, so she was a history maker. I also had Mia Moss, who is the owner of Black Coffee DFW, who is the first Black woman-owned coffee shop in Fort Worth, Texas. And I'm like,
wow, yeah, that's big. That's big. I'm
like, first.
And it's like
that we're saying first in the 20th
century. Yeah, 21st century.
I can't believe. So those 2 were great. And then I did some series last year that were really amazing, hearing their stories. I did one on men's mental health, and I had all guys. I mean, they talked about overcoming addiction, workplace, having your mental stability in workplace, especially being a Black man, the whole code switching and how you have to present yourself. I had a domestic violence panel last year. I had a lupus bonus episode. So just all their stories really just help encourage me to continue on. because as a podcaster, there are times where you can reach burnout. And once I like book an episode, I may be like, I'm tired, or I don't feel like it, or something's, maybe going on with me. But then when I hear their stories, I'm like, I'm so glad I did this. I'm so glad I did this. And so to wrap up the year, I did some episodes. And then in January, I opened up with an episode saying coping with grief. And at that time, when I recorded it, I wasn't coping with grief. I heard different COVID deaths and I understood. My brain was like, okay, this is what happened. This is what happens. But then fast forward, when it hit me, my ex-husband's aunt passed away due to COVID. I was close to her. She helped me, as a young, new mother, new wife. And so I was devastated. Yeah. And then 2 days later, I had one of my church sisters was murdered.
Oh man, that's a lot for anybody.
It was back-to-back deaths. And so when I'm editing this episode called Coping with Grief, when I first recorded, I didn't need it. But for me to listen to it again as I was editing, like I cried. I'm like, I needed this more than somebody else needed this, because a young lady, a listener, said she lost her mother and she was like, we need a coping with grief episode. And I'm like, bet, I got it. If people ask, I'm going to do. But when it came back to the editing and I needed it, it blew me away. So that's why I do it, because it's like, yes, I'm helping other people, but also it's pouring into me too. I'm like, I wouldn't have thought that 2019 when I'm like, I'm going to start a podcast.
Right. Yeah, I said the same thing. I was like, my podcast therapy for me sometimes. Sometimes it's for everybody else. And then other times I'm like, nah, this is somehow for me. You know what I mean? And it's really nice because the people that come your way, I think they're so selfless in sharing their stories and their needs. And, sometimes we don't take that into consideration, but it takes a lot for someone to be vulnerable in that way. And kind of open up those wounds, even for you listening to it, knowing that you were going through that process. It's not an easy thing to do, to sit there and be like, yo, everything I just said, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I'm living, and this wasn't my intention. So I think that sometimes we need to kind of also understand the people that tell these stories, they're almost reliving it, telling it to us, sharing it with us, and we need to kind of like lean into them and what they need, because it's therapeutic for some, and for others it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah. I mean, it can also be triggering. The young man that came on that was talking about overcoming addiction, I mean, and he's overcome addiction, crack cocaine, and he was on it for years. He was at a point where he's homeless. Like, he's telling the whole story. Like, my heart is hurting. I'm like taking this feelings on, and he's like, nah, but I'm good now. And I'm like, shoot. After hearing, he was reliving it, but then he was also telling me, and I'm like, is this a movie? I'm like waiting for pause or something, but this was real life situations, and you just don't know what people are going through, because we put on those masks, we put on those facades, and you never know what somebody has went through or that is currently going through. So that's why I just really have a open heart and open mind when I bring people on and they're talking about their different situations, because it's hard to put that mask down. It's hard.
Yeah, well, we don't create spaces where people can be flawed as a society. What I mean? We kind of talk down on mental health, and so people don't want to get help. We there's this whole stigma about going to therapy, right? By the time somebody goes, they got to be like on the edge. Like, why do I got to wait till I'm on the edge? Why do we not embrace people going before they get to those positions where they can seek help? And I think the narrative the narrative for us caring for ourselves and going through life needs to change. I honestly think that. I think that we learn certain behaviors and society teaches us, well, you know what? I was just saying this to someone. We don't want our boys crying, right? We don't want our men crying. We, as a woman, you want to walk in the room and dominate. We teach little girls from the time they're young, let's go buy her a doll and a kitchen and a stroller, and I hate that shit. And so we kind of take on these societal roles, and then when things happen in our lives, we don't know how to deal with them because we didn't create any healthy space
Yeah.
Be like, you know what, I failed, I flawed, I need to try this again, right? Or the standards are so high that if I fail, now I feel like something is wrong with me and I'm not living up to somebody else's expectations, you know?
Yes.
And that's how a lot of people end up in situations where they're just like, you know, almost stuck, because we feel some of it is not just them. Yes, some of it is, you need to work on yourself, but some of it is this whole society around them that's saying like, well, if this didn't work, it has to be your fault. If you didn't do it has to be your fault. And it's just like, you know, I think that drives people crazy to some extent.
Yeah, I'm not with none of the society standards. I am a rogue over here. I'm doing my own thing. I'm marching to the beat of my own drum. I'm not staying in my lane. I'm going in this lane. I'm trying this over here. If I like it, I'm gonna stay. If not, I'm gonna back up. I really wish I would have known this in my 20s. You know, like
that's the same thing I say.
Society ain't paying no bills. Don't care if you're hungry, destitute, or nothing. So do not feed society's. It's like feeding a monster, because it just keeps going and going. So you get divorced, it's like, okay, when you gonna start dating? Okay, you start dating. When y'all gonna get married? Okay, we get married. Okay, when y'all gonna have kids? I already got kids. Well, y'all can have more kids. When y'all live in an apartment? Okay, when you gonna get a house? Okay, we got a house. Okay, when y'all gonna get another car? It's like, society. Y'all better turn that society knob off and throw away.
That's exactly how society is. That's how, and that's how some families are too. It's not just society. You go to Thanksgiving dinner. I go to Thanksgiving dinner. I'm like, yo, I don't want to talk to nobody, bro. I was like, because everybody's questions are the same questions. Like, I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't really have nothing to answer to any of that. I feel like I'm like you. I feel like I dance to the beat of my own drum. I think I always have, but it took, again, my experiences of going through life kind of hear the beat a little, like the bass line got a little deeper as I kind of got through, like, you know, before I couldn't hear it, and now I'm like, nah, this is my song now, you know, and then just really growing into yourself. But I almost think that also comes with age a little bit. You know what I mean? If I tried to explain this to somebody at 19 or 20 years old, I don't think they would understand it the same way as maybe somebody who's, I'm 42, that's my age, and kind of been through some stuff in life. And then you're like, okay, now I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I am like that too. I'm 41, but I try to tell my daughter, 23, I'm like, girl, do this. I'm telling you, it's going to save you a lot in the long run, and you're going to be more happy. So yeah, I try to feed that into my daughter, even my son. I'm like, you know, because that's the thing. If we keep our kids in this cycle of society's perpetual want, growth, this and this and that, then we're not helping the situation. We're adding to it. So even like the generational
cycle.
Yeah. Even like you were saying about, you know, boys not crying. That's what makes 40-year-old men that I'm trying to meet unemotionally available.
Can we talk about it though? Because we tell young men not to cry. I'll give you something to cry about. You're not supposed to be soft. You're not supposed to express your feelings. You're not supposed to go back and punch that little boy that did so-and-so on the playground, right? This is what we instill in our young men. And then when they're 32, 35, 40 years old, and you're like, you don't express your feelings, we're wondering why they have emotional trauma.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm stopping that now. I'm not going to let my
entire life, nobody allowed them to feel anything,
a safe space to do it, because I'm not saying, you know, cry about every single thing. I don't know if you watch Queen Sugar, but they be having Kofi on there crying about everything. I'm like, Kofi, you too fine to be crying about everything.
I mean, not everything, but I do feel like there needs to be
an outward expression. Don't keep this stuff in.
I feel like the same way we let little girls cry. If that little boy need to cry, then let him cry. Let him cry. Let him wipe his face. Let him suck it up. But let him cry. If that's gonna make him a healthier person later on. You know what I mean? Because you don't want a 65-year-old man, and now people are dying and things are happening around him, and he can't he don't have a space to be human. Like, I just don't think that that's fair. 45-year-old man, things are happening to them. They're dating. They need to be able to communicate their feelings. They having children and grandchildren, and they need to be able to show their feelings, and they can't do that. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. I don't really care who it is. I think that when you stunt somebody from growing, you stunt them from growing. That's it. How they gonna grow?
Yeah, honestly, I agree with you. I think we got to really change the narrative, and we have to start with our young men. We can't let them not feel safe or not feel validated. Say, you know what, your feelings are valid too. The way you feel, the way you want to cry, like go for it and let it out, because see, that also can be held in and it can come out in other ways. So
yeah, because now people got aggression issues and anger issues and anger management issues, and you're wondering why. It's like, yo, I had no way to express these things that happened to me, you know, or these situations that I've been in, or how life perceives me different from how it perceives you. You know, and I think for women, traditionally by society, we're always like, well, they're over emotional, right? But men, we're the far opposite of that.
Yeah.
You know, and it does affect parenting, and it does affect, you know, when you get to my age, dating, because now you're dating someone and you're just like, bro, like, you don't got no feelings, like, you don't got no feelings. You just icebox. I don't want that.
We'll talk about that off air.
What is wrong? I don't understand. I just don't understand. And then, like, taking the initiative for those people that do face those things, because I get it. With our younger men, my son's 11, we gotta teach them. But you grown men, like, I can't. You have to be receptive. I'm gonna use that word. You have to be receptive to say, you know what, this was my experience, and now I'm going to start doing the work to change.
Yeah. It's
not enough to be like, well, this is just the way I am. Well, I'm gonna just be the way I am on the way out. Because I can't do that with you. Right. You understand what I'm saying? That's not just an excuse for your behavior anymore. You're old enough to know at a certain age. When you're 21, 22, fine, you don't know no better. But when you get to a certain age now, you got to kind of acknowledge whatever baggage you're also carrying around and say, okay, I'm going to make the necessary steps, whether that's going to therapy, whether that's talking to the people in your life, whether it's prayer, whether it's burning some sage. I don't know what it is for you. You know what I mean? I don't know. Everybody different. All I know is you can't make an excuse to sit here like this and expect some woman in your life to just be like, okay, well, I'm just going to be with you, but you never going to express nothing. You never going to, like, I'm not doing that with nobody. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's a whole nother podcast.
I mean, I think it is, but I think sometimes we kind of have to look at it also, like when you're telling their stories, like not just tell the story, but then say, okay, this is the impact this has on you or had on you, or this is what you're living with. How do you heal? Yeah,
definitely. It has to be a way to I definitely love when the guests share how they made that change, and then how it affected them and how it's currently affected them, because, you know, all our decisions, our actions, they all line up together. So it's like once they tell those things, I mean, I'm just using this coping with grief because this was the recent one, but you know, the guest was saying she was angry. She was just angry at everybody, angry at the way people were saying condolences. She was angry that, you know, she thought maybe I could have did more or I didn't do enough. And so when you're sitting in that, like myself, I was at my church sister's memorial, and people were getting up saying great things about her, and they were all true, and everybody was laughing and smiling, but I was angry. I was mad. Mm-hmm. I'm like, who did this?
Right.
You know, I'm like thinking, like, if I get up, I'm gonna be like, we in here, we need to be out there. We need to be seeing who did this. Who are they? You know, like, I want to get the person. Like, I'm answering my door with my gun, like, who is it?
Yeah.
Amazon. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? So I was angry, but I didn't even realize I was angry, because I'm like, oh, after editing the podcast, I'm like, I was at a stage in grief. I was angry. I was mad about it. So
that's very valid. I think anger is a very valid feeling when you're going through grief. And I think sometimes my sister lost her husband a couple years ago, and she was angry. She was angry even at God. She was like, yo, I just don't he had a heart attack in the shower, and she was just angry. And I think that sometimes we don't allow people a space to be angry. We're like, why are you mad? Like, no, I'm mad. You know what I mean? I'm mad. It doesn't mean I'm going to change anything. It doesn't mean it's going to do anything, but you're allowed to feel that way. That's part of the process of grieving. That's part of, especially when it's something sudden or it's something like murder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's even worse. Like if somebody's sick and die, it's bad. If somebody's in a car accident and die, it's bad. But when I've dealt with murder. When somebody's murdered, you're like, who the fuck gave you the right to take somebody's life? You know what I mean? That anger is a whole nother level of like, that's a whole nother component of dealing with, of mourning, because that's another element. Like somebody did this.
Yeah.
Naturally. You understand what I'm saying? When something happened, you know, grandma old and she died, it's sad and you cry. But when someone intentionally took somebody away from you, you're going to be angry. You're going to be angry because it almost feels like you don't get to do that. You don't get to make that decision. And so, you know, I think sometimes we don't allow ourselves to be angry. We don't allow ourselves to grieve the way we should grieve. You know what I mean? Everybody trying to make you feel better or be like, okay, let's move on. And you're just like,
no, I'm right here. Yes.
You can't just, some things you can't just move on. You can't just pretend it didn't happen. You can't just pretend like what you're feeling doesn't exist. And I think it's very fair to allow people to just live in a space for a little while, not for forever, but as long as they can, so that they can grasp what's happening and really feel what it is that's happening, so they can heal. Because
and that's what I have to accept. I mean, after hearing that, I sort of could put it together better how I was feeling and why I was feeling so angry. I mean, those are the kind of stories, not just that, but the stories that I get from people. I mean, and all aren't tragedies. These are other stories are just triumphs, how they've overcome something. One of the ladies I had on this year, she was $1 million in debt.
Wow.
Or over $1 million in debt when her and her husband got divorced because everything was in her name. Everything. So that right there, I'm like, a million? What? Yeah. So those kind of things, and that helped me financially. Like, okay, let me make sure next time I get with somebody, these names need to be. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to run a credit report before I say I do, just to make sure that you know. Wow,
I'm learning from the episodes too. So I'm learning life, and I'm meeting new people. So
that's great.
It's fun.
It is fun. You get to meet a lot of new people and a lot of new stories. And I think your own experiences help you be able to show empathy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can actually share feelings with someone else and empathize and sympathize because you can feel. And I think that's important too, where we're understanding and connecting with the people that come on the show. I think that's dope. Yeah. So what is planned for the future for Light the Path podcast?
Oh, Light the Path podcast. So one of the things that I have in the works for 2021 is I know everybody has a line, and I did well with the 2020. I have merch, I have t-shirts, hoodies, all the standard stuff that all brands, all pods have. So 2021, I am introducing a Light the Path candle line.
Ooh, which goes right along with the brand, I might add.
Yes. So I'm like, people my age, my demographics that listen, like we have the shirts, we have the hoodies, we have the bags, we really have all that stuff. But I was like, I love to light me a nice candle.
That's right.
3 different fragrances to enjoy. They're still in the, I guess the production kind of phase of it. I haven't got it all the way to production, but by summer 2021, Light the Path podcast will have its own.
I love it. I think that's a brilliant idea. I think it's so appropriate. I think it's in line with the brand. And you're right. Yes, people our age. I like to clean my house. And about 20, 30 minutes before I'm done and I go sit down, I light my candle because I want, So
yeah.
I think that is a perfect thing. And what about the show? Anything to look forward with the show in the coming year?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still going to do some bonus episodes highlighting people in the community because I can get some out in the community, but I will be highlighting, just like I said, with Mia Moss, with Black Coffee. I have a food truck, Winging It, and they're a faith-based food truck. So they sell wings. They sell wings, but they also have a table out where you can put your prayer request in. They're going to pray for you. And then they also take those prayer requests, they put them in mason jars and they give them away to other prayer warriors to be able to keep praying for you. So you can order your food, you can get your prayer. I mean, I'm doing stuff like that, highlighting people in the community that are doing great things in order to, continue to grow their business in partnership with me. I'm always accepting new partners that want to come on weekly. I have affordable rates for small business owners. So those things will be continued through 2021. And I'm just looking to continue to collaborate too. So that was something else that was a good win for 2020 that will definitely spill over to 2021.
Excellent. Well, I'm so happy to have had you and share Light the Path podcast with everyone. I think it's definitely a place to go and get some good energy and some good stories and hear about the community and do that work and give back. So thank you so much for the work that you do. Thank you for being here. And everybody go listen to Queen Cole and Light the Path podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Sweet Vibrations is the official sponsor of the Say It Loud Ho Bag. Yes, they are. If you didn't know, Sweet Vibrations is an adult boutique that delivers innovative lifestyle products and embraces the taboo of sexual wellness instead of hiding it. Simply put, they inspire each and every one of us to embark on our own sexual wellness journey. Whether it's the girl's best friend, a little pixie, the perfect match, or tulips, there's something for everyone. And you deserve something sweet. So visit their website at www.sweetvibe.toys. Use our Say It Loud discount code, LOUD, LOUD, for discounts. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Sweet Vibrations. I mean, ladies, we all deserve a good vibe.
Thank you, Queen Cole, for joining us on Sayeth Aloud. I appreciate you and your energy and all the good that you are doing and the work that you bring. It's always nice when we can spotlight other podcasts and share the platform and energize the people. So shout out to that. This segment of the show, as you know, is called Dropping Gems, and it is brought to you by our lovely sponsor, Manscaped. Make sure you go check out Manscaped for all your manscaping needs. It's a beautiful package. It's a beautiful box. It is a wonderful gift. So fellas, definitely cop yourself one or leave a picture on the refrigerator so she know to get it. Ladies, if you're going to go down there and, at least shape them up and enjoy it. There's nothing more unattractive than, a hand-hairy bush. And, ladies, we don't want pubes in our mouth. Let's be real. So, go check out Manscaped. Use my code LOUD. You get 20% off and free shipping. So it's the perfect gift for your man. Trust me, he will thank you. And men, your balls will thank you. They will. I promise you that they will. So for this particular segment, I just really wanted to drop a gem or two on you and just let you know that you are who you are in your skin. Not everybody's gonna like it. Some things just are the way they fucking are, and that's okay. As long as you're moving in a way that makes you your most authentic self, then be that. and be good to people and check yourself before anybody has to check you. And sometimes in life, we're going to have to bow out because everything is not for everybody, and that's okay too. All right. So I just wanted to drop that gem on you because I feel like sometimes we try to fit round pieces into square boxes, or we try to fit ourselves in places that we don't need to be because that's what we think we need. And we really need to reflect and be who we are in our skin and just be like, that's not for me. And it's okay to say that's not for me by your damn motherfucking self, you know, and not have to do what the crowd is doing or do what everybody thinks is right, but really do what sits right with your soul, and you could sleep at night and be comfortable with who you are, the parent you are, the partner you are, the brother, the sister, the mom, the dad, whatever the fuck it is. Be that and be comfortable in that, you know, and that's what we do here at Say It Loud. We live our most authentic selves the best way we can be, and we be as good as we can be, and we create those boundaries and understand that what is not for me is not for me, and what is for me will come when the time comes. So that's my dropping gem for you. You know where you can find me: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Pinterest. I am all over the place. Thank God, knock on wood. I am Karen L. Check that out. Follow me every Friday on Instagram for your Friday fuckery. You can also visit my website, www.sayitloud.com, SAYITHLOUD.com. Make sure you cop some Say It Loud merch. I love it. And if you haven't done so already, go visit our new website for Say It Sexy for all your lingerie needs. We're adding some toys and some other things to there in the coming months. But for now, go ahead, cop yourself some lingerie, cop your girl something, your baby father, your mother, your sister, I don't know. But, you know, make sure your other baby mother, whatever. And support small business and Say It Loud. And if you haven't done this already, Say It Loud has a premium content, $10 a month. You get more fuckery, more Karen, more one-on-one. There's actually no guest on that show. And it's just a little bit more intimate of a community that I'm building. So you can definitely check that out. Go to my website. There's a link there to join our Say It Louder squad. And yeah, that's it. We out. I'll see you next week. One.
Hit me. Yeah. Please be clear, we are popping it off.
You're logged onto your favorite radio right now.
Flex your fingers.
Flex your fingers.
And type up www.sayitloud.com now. And stay in tune with everything. Karen L is on the World Wide Web.